Part 3 of Nutnfancy's review of his multi-day backpacking gear. It's all laid out here on the floor. I'll go over it section by section, and it's going to take me a while. There's so much information to cover. I've had lots of emails requesting this, so here it is. We're talking about water right now, and there's a lot to be said on the philosophy of water. Much depends on where you're going. Is water available where you're going? It generally will be. If it's not, I'll try to choose a different location, because I don't like hauling in gallons upon gallons of water. I've done it before. I'll probably do it again, but I don't like it. It's generally better to go where there's some water that you can filter. And this is one of my current favorite filters. This is a Pure Voyager. The Pure company was bought out by Katadyn, and so now it will wear the Katadyn name. It still may go by the Voyager. The filter you're looking at is at least 10 years old. It's gone through several filter changes. The interior portion of this is a filter element you can easily swap out. They're not super cheap, around $40, but they work great. This particular filter has, at the time it was called a purifier, and Pure got into some trouble over that because a lot of other manufacturers said, hey, you can't call it a purifier, it doesn't kill viruses, blah, blah, blah. But at the time it had an attachment to it that has an iodine filter in it, and also a carbon filter that takes out the iodine taste, and I still use it. I mean, why not? I've used this in some pretty bad water before, and I haven't had any issues with it. It's kept me safe, kept me healthy, and I love it. Easy to pump, nice outflow, and I prefer it over iodine tablets. I know some of you lightweight hikers will just take some tablets with you, shake it up, let your water stand for 30 minutes, and then you'll use that. I understand that, but I much rather take the extra weight for the filter because it just produces cleaner and better tasting water, at least for me. So I dig that. Now, once you filter the water, there's one thing I gotta tell you about it. Way to make your water filter last longer is don't throw this in dirty water where there's lots of debris and detritus floating around. Put it in the most calm portion of the stream you can, and you'll find your filter lasts a lot longer. If you can't find that, or heaven forbid you have to do just lake water, which how you doing, that filter of mine has done, then what I'll do is I'll put it in, I got to go over across the room here, a backpacking bucket that I'll take with me. A backpacking bucket is something along these lines. These are two versions of them. Don't take both of them. Usually be one or the other. And no, I don't take it on every trip. Just depends. They're lightweight, coated pack cloth that you can put water in. And why I would do this with a water filter is it lets all that debris settle to the bottom, and then I filter from the top. Makes my filter last longer. The bucket, this deeper bucket by Seattle Sports, is even better, but it does weigh a little bit more. This is about, I don't know, ounce and a half, 2 ounces. This lightweight olive drab one, maybe about not even an ounce. And they also function for a wash basin for cleaning up. You wouldn't have to use filtered water for that. And also, it works for putting fires out. So being able to transport water in a bucket to put your fire out is a real easy way to make sure indeed it's out. That's if you're in an area that can do fires. Let's go back on this side of the room. I know there's lots of gear you guys want to see. I'll get to it. What's this thing right here? If I'm winter camping, you're going to find that your water bottle, and these are Nalgene water bottles, and by the way, I totally recommend you take one of these. I wouldn't take both of them. This is just a regular screw top. This is a pop top one, and it has the advantage of keeping the top clean. I generally take one of these. I do like the squirt top on this, though. It makes it really easy to access, and it's a great trail bottle. It is a little bit heavier, though. They're really nice to have in your tent, and I'd much prefer having that over my bigger water bag, and I'll cover that in a second. But for these water bottles, whichever one you decide to take with you, and there's a lot of different types out there, this is an insulated jacket for that water bottle. I have found that if you get below freezing, specifically well below freezing, around the 0-degree mark on a winter camp out, it will be a matter of minutes before your bottle is frozen. And within an hour it could be frozen solid. What this insulated jacket does, it's not to keep the water cold, it's to keep the water in its liquid form. And then on top of that, I'll put it inside my sleeping bag in my tent and do my best to insulate this. Otherwise, you're going to come out to a block of ice. Been there, done that. This will help stave off your water bottle freezing solid. That's why I have it. It's not to keep the water cold. Now, when I filter my water, what do I put it in? Here? Yeah, you bet. I'll top off my Nalgene bottle always. And that's one area I'm going to have full of water. But also, by the way, my battery's on its last leg, so I may have to dovetail this segment into another one. I'll also use my very, very favorite water bag, and that is these Nalgene Mylar bags that fold flat. They weigh just probably about 1.5 ounces, and they hold 1.5 gallons, and they're very tough, very durable. I've used them for years. They also can be strapped to your pack with this reinforced loop area. These rock. Also, they have a wide mouth on them, so you can use your filter on them. You can just filter directly into them. That filter that I showed you will, you know, press right into the top of your Nalgene. They call it the Cantene. I get these at REI. Campmore has them. A lot of outdoor places will have them. They're not super cheap, but they're super worth it. So that's water. I have a lot more filters than I'm talking about. I have some MSRs, Katadyn ceramic, but this is the one I use most, the Voyager. That brings us to kitchen utensils. There's a lot that I could say about this. Suffice it to say that the current utensils I use are these Lexan ones. You can find them at Walmart now. They're available everywhere. They're tough, they're rugged, they're reusable, and they're super lightweight. This is a Lexan spatula. Is a spatula a totally needed item in the backcountry? Well, if you're like me and you're eating fresh fish, it is. It's very nice to have. Heck, even scrambled eggs, if you're making those, it's very advantageous to have those as well. This is an old MRE spoon. This isn't something you can buy anymore, unfortunately. But the nice thing about that is it has such a long handle. So if you're doing freeze-dried meals, that long-handled spoon is really nice to have. They should really make a Lexan version of it right here. This would be my soup or hot chocolate spoon. It's broad. Again, you can buy these everywhere. REI has them, Campmore. Heck, you can get them at Walmart. So, now what are they in? Well, I didn't show you all the utensils I've used, but I'm currently testing these Oracaso flatware. It's kind of fold flat tableware. I got them at REI on clearance. All it is a piece of plastic. You fold the corners on, tuck the tabs in, and it forms a bowl. The nice thing is they go flat and they're super lightweight. I have not tried them yet, but I suspect they'll be fine, and they can replace a lot heavier and bulkier options that I've been using over the years. I'll keep you posted, maybe, if I remember. How about stoves? Well, again, that's a whole subject for a different video. I'm just going to briefly say that one I love currently is the MSR Jetfire. It stacks on top of a self-sealing propane cartridge or butane cartridge, which you're seeing here. For years I used a Coleman multi-fuel stove, but it's just so darn heavy. This one's simple. It works great. It weighs just a couple ounces. The downsides would be that the pot support is not overly big. I've had some pots tumble off of my Jetfires. I have several of them. This one's out of a survival kit I just pulled for filming purposes. That's why it's not used. You can always tell if it's used because it's like black around the burner area. But they're super lightweight. Love them. And they really crank. The disadvantage, again, the pot supports are kind of narrow. It's easy for your pots to come tumbling off if you bump them. But it's also not so great in the cold weather. These cartridges sometimes will just not do great in cold weather. So what I've done is somehow warm them up. I've gone to I've used different ways to do it. Often I'll use scrape out some coals from the fire. Yet another reason why a fire is nice. And I'll heat an area up and then put my cartridge there. And no, it's not dangerous, especially when it's 0 degrees outside. And once I get the cartridge warmed up, you'll find that your Jetfire spits out the flame quite nicely. So, along with my kitchen utensils, I'll use a variety of napkins. I like the blue towels. These are like from Walmart. I don't want to bore you guys, but some tissue and blue towels. They're those really tough paper towels from various sources. I love those. You don't kid yourself. Having those once you get up to altitude is so nice. If you don't have paper towels or tissue, you're going to be roughing it. and I like not roughing it. Toiletry kit, do I need to tell you anything about that? Yeah, I take a toothbrush. Sometimes you'll need, you know, insect repellent, so actually pretty much everywhere I go I need it. Then along with that, I'm not showing it to you, but sunscreen as well. Sometimes I'll take fresh eggs with me, you betcha, and they're heavy. I know they are, but man, is it nice when you're at 10,000 feet elevation with scrambled eggs, huevos rancheros with fresh tortillas. That's good, dudes. Couple frying pans. This gets to the fish thing again. Again, my system is I'm at a high mountain lake, and some of my food items are fish. I don't take both of these. These are just two different versions of backcountry frying pans I'm showing you, and they're heavy. I'm not going to kid you. They're really heavy. But it gives you more capabilities. Remember, we're talking about the firepower side of the equation. This is probably the lightest one I have. It's not super thick, but it also allows me to do some other menu things that I can't do with a smaller stew pot like this. And this is a titanium, I think, stew pot. Excellent, but very expensive. Super light. It's probably all of maybe 1.2 ounces, maybe 1.7. Don't know. That's kind of boring. Here's one of my Sorry that battery died, so I'm going to just join those two clips together. I left off talking about mugs. I'll make this quick. I don't want to make this boring. It's really hard to say what guys are going to be interested in and what they're not going to be interested in. I just get all kinds of messages. So I do try to make this as thorough as possible so I don't have to redo it. Anyways, I'm going to evaluate these Stanley mugs. They are a little bit on the heavy side. The nice thing about them is, hang on, I got to put this down, is they detach. They have a Lexan portion on them, screw top that's used as a bowl. Also, this bottom portion is a measuring cup and also can function as a bowl. So, don't know if the weight's worth it. I need to go out and evaluate them. I really like the design on them, though. Almost without fail, if I use a mug with an open top, it's going to have all kinds of debris and ash in it by the time the dinner's over because I'm generally having a fire going. One thing I forgot to mention about the titanium pot, guys, is my favorite way of cooking a fish now is actually kind of steaming it. I'll put a little water in there, put the trout in there, and I'll steam it with some lemon pepper. It's really easy to clean up, and it's a great way to cook the fish. FYI. This is another thing I just bought at Target. It's just a closed lid. This might serve the same function as that more expensive and heavier Stanley outdoor mug, and that would be that one. This is lighter weight, has graduations on the side for measuring, and it has a screw top. It's not insulated like the Stanley, but I think it'll function nice, and I paid all of, heck, $1.86 for it, whatever that is. How about these hiking poles? What do I think about hiking poles? Well, I've got knee issues, to be honest with you guys. I've had multiple surgeries on one of my knees. So hiking poles for me are very important. As you can see, I've used the heck out of these REI ones. They're shock absorbent, ultralights. The names and the models have changed over the years, but they still have the same type of poles out there. Now, when I go in, generally when I'm going to high altitude, you're going to run into snow, and so you're going to have to change baskets on your poles. Right now, you see just a regular all-terrain basket on these poles. I think these are made by Compardel for REI, and yes, they are. There you go. See if I can show you. There you go. Made in Austria by Compardel. And you're going to have to change your baskets out. Once I get into the snow layer, depending on what type of year I'm hiking, I'm going to have to put the snowflake baskets on. If you don't, your pole's just going to post hole down into the snow, and it's going to be a very frustrating experience. I've camped with or hiked in with guys that I've known that totally blew me off when I told them you better bring some snowflake baskets for your poles, and they're like, nah, I'm fine. And guess what? We hit the snow. The snow became like 3 feet deep, and they were miserable. They basically couldn't use their poles at all. So, speaking from experience, better bring a different basket, otherwise you're going to regret it. I love the handles on these REIs too, because it's very long to have the foam down on the lower half, and I do use that a lot. Enough said. I may show you my technique on using hiking poles. Generally, everybody I ever see using hiking poles don't know how to use them properly. You need to transfer your weight, some of your weight, to them for them to be effective. All right, now we're going to get into probably what most of you guys have been waiting for, and you're like, holy cow, this is ever going to end? I want to see the tool section, and that's the backpacking tool section. Let's start up at the top with the gun. What you're looking at is a Beretta 950 Jetfire 25 auto. Do I take a gun with me every time I go out in the woods? No, I don't. It again depends where I'm going and what I want to do. And if I was in Alaska in bear country, I sure wouldn't be taking just a 25 auto. I'd probably be taking a Glock 10mm pistol with me. I think that's a great bear gun. Maybe a Marlin lever action in a 45-70, something along those lines. But what I'm showing you here is a system that, yeah, it will have bear, but is realistic in that it's very, very rare indeed that a bear will ever cause you any problems. What do I have a gun for then? Well, one, for recreation, to pop some rounds once I get up there, and maybe then for the two-legged variety of bad guys, which sometimes you'll run into. That's just the way life is in 2008 and on. But this is a very lightweight, compact gun, and probably as light as you can go. Forget the weight exactly. Then I would take with me some Full Metal Jacket Blazer rounds, which are aluminum cased, very lightweight. A couple earplugs too for recreational firing. And then I would strap this Uncle Mike's holster, size number 10. Sorry, I was off because this camera I'm using does not have a lens that's lined up. Size 10 is what I use for the Beretta 950 Jetfire. So that's kind of nice to have. Again, what percentage do I actually have a gun with me when I go in the backcountry? It's hard to say. I would say maybe 25% is when I have a gun, just because of the weight. It's a lot of weight to carry. Even as small as it is, ammo's heavy. You know, the gun itself is light as can be, but I don't always have a gun with me. Just depends where I'm going. And then, ta-da, we get to the knife section. This depends on what I want to do when I get where I'm going. If I'm in an area that has a fire limitation, they will not allow you to start fires. Guess what? I won't, and I won't take any of these fire tools. But sometimes I will, and generally where I'm going, they will allow fires, and I'll take my fire tools and other tools with me. That's the end of part 3. Nutnfancy's coverage of multi-day backpacking gear in depth. Tune in for part 4. Thanks.